radio and podcasts all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lon Swan. Just call me Swanny.
Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, heard around the world on the iHeartRadio application. Glad to be back with you here on a dreary Thursday and what appears to be a cool, frigid, frosty Friday looming, and perhaps even some wintry mix into the Midlands as we were denied the opportunity to tickle our toes in the snow over the weekend. Perhaps, maybe, yes, indeed, heading into this weekend, we might get a little flurry. Last week I said, hey, I don't think you should expect Frosty to come knocking at your door. And it may not be the most frosty of snowmen that shows up, but I do think we might end up getting something. And I'm still hopeful that maybe things will turn and give us a lot of snow for the kids. 803-450-0086. As far as this show tomorrow, one would assume that minus any weather conditions that prevent travel to the studio and or power outages in my area, that will be here for you. So other than that, you can expect it like clockwork. Clemson Sports Talk for you on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Coming up on the show, Tim Beret set to join the program. Of course, on Saturday, Clemson's men's basketball team will take on a 7-11 Pitt team in what feels like a must-win game for Brad Brownell. This team now 10-8, and I don't mean a must-win game from the standpoint of getting into the postseason or anything like that. I mean a must-win from the standpoint of not completely losing what remains of this fan base. And as I said earlier in the week, every year that Brad Brownell's been there, he's probably lost somebody that's had that final moment. And I had somebody text me the other day. They said, look, I'm done. I don't care who they play on, where they play. I'm not watching. I'm done with Brad Brownell. They folded it up. And there are probably, let's say that every year, just for a number, let's say that 1,000 fans cross over that bridge into the realm of, I don't care anymore about it. I'm not going back. I'm not supporting until Brad Brownell's gone. Well, if half of those people, and it's probably maybe a little greater than half, but say 70% of those people return the following year, they get caught up, you still lost 300 fans. And that number may be greater, much greater than 300 for Brad Brownell and what this Clemson Tiger fan base has lost from the standpoint of their support of the program. I mean, it is a program built on, well, how should I put it? Inconsistency. And even though I've asked the question and I've said it before, I don't know who you go get that's better. I don't know who you go get that would stick with you and not see it as a stepping stone job. The one thing I know about Brad Brownell, if he's allowed to coach at Clemson the rest of his career, he'd probably do it. And some of you say, well, yeah, no joke, Swanny. He's 8 games under 500 in his life in the conference. He's only been to the NCAA tournament twice that I count. I don't count the first year. That wasn't even his players. That was Oliver Purnell's players. At Clemson, 211 wins, 158 losses. He is the winningest coach in Clemson history. They have been to the postseason 4 consecutive years. The NIT in 2016, the NCAA Sweet 16 in 2017, They were in the NIT in 2018. The 2019 postseason was canceled. And then a year ago, they made it into the round of 64. But right now, they are 10-8. A year ago, by the way, they went 16-8 in the regular season. They are 10-8 and 2-5 in the league. Last year, mind you, they went 10-6 in the league. This is an issue of inconsistency. The best finish that Brad Brownell's ever had in the league, an 11-7 year back in 2017, the year Clemson into the NCAA Sweet 16. Last season's result of 10-6 in a 16-game schedule with 16 games played is the least amount of losses he's ever had in conference play. But the 11-7 season, the best effort they've had in terms of wins, it's still not great. I mean, it is a tough league. Nobody denies that fact. But this is a Clemson Tiger team that has never had less than 6 losses. And as a matter in conference play, and as a matter of fact, in Brad Brownell's career, since his tenure at Wright State, he's never had less than 6 losses in conference play. His first season with the Raiders at Wright State in the Horizon League, they went 13-3. After that, back-to-back 12-6 seasons. Again, the trend of the direction in conference play for Brad Brownell in terms of getting better every year just hasn't happened. You got to go all the way back to his time at UNC Wilmington, where his first season, his team goes 15-3 in the league and gets into the NCAA tournament round of 64. They fall off to 9-9 in the league, 13-5 improvement, 15-3 in his final year at UNC Wilmington, and another berth in the NCAA tournament. At Wright State, first season, berth in the NCAA tournament. Then they never win again. At Clemson, first season, berth in the NCAA tournament. And they didn't get back into the NCAA tournament for another 7 years. I mean, I don't know what that says. Me, says that Brad, the guys he inherits, and then after that, it's a drop-off. Now, they have been fairly consistent recently, as I mentioned. But again, you're not talking about putting up these unbelievable numbers that just make you go, you know what? Yeah, things are heading in the right way. And what is the right way, too? That I think is the other question. That, I think, is the question that is difficult to discern. What is the right direction, or what would you consider to be, I think that's the better question, a good year for Clemson basketball? I mean, is it the upper half of the league? It's a 15-team league, with Notre Dame. So any year you finish, 7th or better, seems like it would be a good year. I mean, if that is your criteria, 7th or better. Well, during Brad Brownell's tenure at Clemson, and I guess technically you'd have to go back to when Notre Dame was actually calculated that, but the number of times Clemson has finished 7th or better, 6 times, so about half of the time he's been at Clemson, they finished 7th or better. Maybe that's good enough for you. Maybe that passes the test. Maybe that checks the boxes. But man, you watch this team on this skid right now, and the level of frustration that exists, I think, for a lot of people it's there. And one of the things that you've seen, Brad Brownell's taking advantage of the transfer portal with players coming in, but you've lost some guys recently, most notably, I think Olivier Maxence Prosper, Lynn Kidd, Clyde Trapp, and look, Prosper He's up at Marquette, averaging 6 points a game, 3.5 rebounds. I mean, it's not like blowing you away with the numbers, but he's still considered a freshman at this point in his career. Clyde Trapp, who left, who may have been a guy that controlled too much of the basketball. He's at Charlotte. He's averaging 10.1 points per game, 6 rebounds. You think that wouldn't have been beneficial for this Clemson team? He's a 6'4", 200-pounder when Clemson's so undersized at guard. You've also lost John Newman III. Newman III's up at playing basketball up with, I'm about to say Louisville. He's playing basketball with Cincinnati. John Newman this year, nearly scoring 8 points, 7.5 points, 4 1/3 rebounds for the Cincinnati Bearcats. And then, I guess last but not least, and not doing a ton, but you lost Lynn Kidd, who's now at Virginia Tech. And you start to total those numbers up. Those guys are averaging like close to 25 points per game combined. And again, if you're all on the same court, you can't really share all that. But you're talking about 15, 16 rebounds, 25 points. I mean, those are legit numbers, especially for a team that's undersized at guard. I mean, Max Prosper is a 6'8" forward, but I could certainly defend. He's capable of defending. He's a smaller forward in my estimation, really. I think he's a versatile forward. These guys can all defend. John Newman's 6'5", Clyde Trapp 6'4". And Clemson's just got this undersized roster that we've known about. And that's one of the things that Brad Brownell brought up in the postgame recently after Clemson dropped their third straight. He said, we're physically a little weak. We're physically smaller and weaker. Some of that is a product of recruiting. We've got to think about that. Now, obviously, what you get on the other hand is you get some skill. You get guys that can shoot. You get guys that can pass. That's why offensively, we got a bunch of guys that shoot high percentage from three. But guys, look, I'm no Einsteiner. I mean, I know when I walk in the room in most places, unless it's empty, I'm not the smartest. But the truth is, this Clemson men's basketball team lost a lot of this past year into the portal. And when you play in what I still believe is the top tier conference in college basketball on a consistent basis, when you play in that league, whether Duke's down or North Carolina's down or Florida State's down or whatever, when you play in the ACC, you better bring your lunch. You better be ready to go. You better be ready to defend. And you better be ready to be defended, especially on the perimeter. Because around this conference, there are boatload of lengthy, talented players out there. And whether they are guys that play straight up on the perimeter at guard or whether they are small forwards who are versed enough in a switching situation to defend, it creates havoc defensively. And I think if you don't have a niche at a school like Clemson, and that niche can't be three-point shooting. Everybody is not Steph Curry. Steph Curry, to me, is not healthy for the game of basketball because it's made everybody believe they should be able to shoot from midcourt. Everybody can't be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Those are generational shooters that just happen to be on the same team. But when you come to play in the ACC, or when you come to coach, maybe the better statement, in the ACC, and you're not at a blue blood program, you need a gimmick. That's why Oliver Purnell was successful. And I know it didn't spill over into the postseason. Not like you would have wanted. But Oliver Purnell, he knew he was not going to get the most talented players to Tiger Town. But he was going to get every ounce of effort out of them in his pressing style. And what it did consequently, and if you think back to when like James Mays was at the head of that press for Clemson, and I don't have James Mays' stats in front of me. I can't remember if he averaged 16 or 18 points a game. Let me see if I can real quickly throw this in the old Google machine. His college stats for a guy like James, who you and I and everybody who ever saw James Mays play the game, we all understand he was never going to be what we would label an elite basketball player. Just never going to be an elite basketball player. Although I do see that still overseas, up like last year, he was averaging 16 points a game in China. One year he averaged 26 points a game in China. But in America, in college basketball, James Mays was never going to be an elite basketball player. But he was always going to be an elite athlete. And so for Mays, who during his time at Clemson averaged 12.2 points per game as a junior and 10.7 points per game as a senior, James Mays probably averaged 4 or 5 of those points, maybe half of those points during that stretch for him, during his career at Clemson. Probably half of those came on garbage layups where he disrupted an inbounds, got a steal, or somebody got a steal right off of him, dumped it back to him for a quick layup. Probably half. At least 4 points a game for James Mays. Most likely, if you averaged it over his tenure, probably came off of junk buckets. You have to create junk buckets if you're coaching at Clemson. You don't have the time, in my opinion, to draw up. Butler might have drawn up years ago. Beat somebody on the backdoor cut. I mean, if that's what you want to go Princeton style offense and try to run that at Clemson, you might be able to do it. But that's another niche. You've got to have a niche, whether it's a press, whether it's that kind of slow down the tempo, backdoor cuts, offense. You've got to have that. And Clemson's niche this year was shooting. But the problem with that is you can't rely on that to be the thing that carries you when you don't have the length on the perimeter to do so. I mean, J.J. Redick, who I think most people probably have perceived in the Atlantic Coast Conference to be one of the best shooters you've ever seen, was still 6'4". Remember Trajan Langdon? How good he was shooting the basketball? He's not an undersized guard like Clemson has. He's 6'4". The guys that Clemson's running out there are your everyman. I mean, these aren't rangy, lengthy, big guards. You pick virtually any name from the 1990s, 2000s that came through the Atlantic Coast Conference that were true scorers or shooters or however you want to qualify them. And what you will find is that those guys were 3 to maybe 5 inches taller than the players Clemson's got currently running out front. That helps on the offensive end. That helps on the defensive end. And Clemson doesn't have that right now. And when they can't hit threes, they're undersized, and it shows. And I've been saying, you go back, you pick up whatever podcast edition you want from November, whenever we first started talking about Clemson basketball in 2021 and 2022. And Swanny said it was all about the size. We hit a quick break. We'll come back with more the show that shakes the Southland.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Win. That's win. Enter it now.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic types include Clemson Road at Two Notch and Sparkleberry at Wotan. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. File in a way that fits you and get the refund you deserve, guaranteed. Jackson Hewitt Tax Pros can help you find thousands worth of new tax credits. Schedule an appointment with one of their tax pros and learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Being a real estate agent isn't about listing houses. It's about connecting to people. I need to find new buyers every day. So I promote my listings using radio commercials from iHeartAdBuilder.com. Now every time I have an open house, it's a full house.
A custom radio ad from iHeart Ad Builder is the fast, affordable way to drive customers to your business. Put the power of radio to work for you. Get started now at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
When a physician you trust moves on, it's deflating. When that physician returns, it's worth celebrating. Welcome home, Dr. Paul Espinoza of Espinoza Vein Institute. Yes, Dr. Espinoza is back in Lexington, caring for patients, former and new. As a trusted, respected, certified vein specialist, he offers personalized, compassionate treatment in a private practice that feels like home. Espinoza Vein Institute. Healthy legs, a step away.
Ever had that small crack in your windshield that turned into a very large crack overnight? Hi, I'm Ray.
And I'm Mary Ann, and we're with Absolute Glass.
We are your only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, used by high-end car dealerships, and we absolutely have you covered.
Whether it's a small or big crack, you can be confident in our certified technicians to get the job done right the first time.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com for a quote or call 951-7200.
That's AbsoluteGlassInc.com or 951-7200.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up, become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers. People can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
You can save money and help the environment without taking a vow of poverty. How does that work? Well, by choosing Energy Star qualified lighting for your home. When you do, you'll become part of a growing national movement. Just go to EnergyStar.gov and click on Take the Change a Light pledge. It takes only a few short seconds for you to have a long-term impact. Brighten your environmental future. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
For 60 years now, the Federation Center of the Blind has been making a difference in the lives of visually impaired South Carolinians through its innovative services. You can help them continue their important work by calling 803-254-3777 or emailing nfbsc@sc.rr.com.
You're listening to Clemson Sports Talk with my dad, Lawton Swan, on Fox Sports Radio 1400 and on the iHeartRadio app.
Clemson Sports Talk on a Thursday, and really starting to feel more and more like basketball season for sure. Again, your Clemson Tigers getting set to get on the hardwood on Saturday. 6 o'clock is the tip-off as Clemson takes on Pitt in what feels like a must-win game for Brad Brownell. I mean, I think with the time he's been at Clemson, no offense to Brad Brownell, and the checkbook, I'm sure, makes him say, yeah, you're right, I don't need to be offended by it. But I mean, he's crossed over into the realm of you lose enough, they'll cut you loose right now. You just won't finish the season. 10-8, Clemson taking on 7-11 Pitt, 6 o'clock on the ACC network on Saturday. So I was talking about Trajan Langdon, talking about J.J. Redick, and kind of thinking through some of the guys in this league for so many years. It made me think about players who starred in the league during my time in college. And I missed on like Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley and those guys. They were a little before my time, and they were at Duke, obviously, and I would have been at Clemson. But, you know, if you go back and think about just some of the names that came through that league during that time, like I said it before, I think it's still year in and year out over the long haul, the best league in college basketball. And maybe some of what we have with the one and done has made us all feel like we don't really know these guys the way we once did. But I started to look at the names of the players who came through. Antoine Jamison at North Carolina. Joe Smith at Maryland in 1995. Elton Brand. I mean, Elton Brand and Antoine Jamison were just so good, collegiately especially. I mean, it was like those guys hopped twice before everybody else could hop once to get a rebound. They'd jump up once and miss it. The second time, they'd have it. But it wasn't just big men that, you know, kind of led this league. I think back to Stefan Marbury during his freshman year and his only year at Georgia Tech, and how good he was with the ball in his hand. And it really was shades of Kenny Anderson and really to me, Stefan Marbury, being a guy out of like the New York area, brought that level of street basketball that we had always kind of seen growing up to the courts. There was a kid that moved to my hometown from up north that had played basketball a ton in New York City, and it was such a different game. The ability to handle the basketball and dish the ball and do all, it just, man, it was a fun time to watch ACC hoops. From Marbury to, how about Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace at North Carolina? Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward in the history of the NBA in most people's minds. Tim Duncan at Wake Forest. And certainly for me as a Clemson guy, I mean, listen, you had Terrell McIntyre and Harold Jameson and Greg Buckner and Dracunis and Weidman, excuse me, and who am I? Christie. I mean, that group under Rick Barnes was so much fun to watch, and they were playing against some really great players in the league, and they're all pouring into Little John Coliseum, and it's game on. I mean, it is game on every time those guys get on the basketball court. What was the kid's name at Georgia Tech? Let me think. What was that kid's name at Georgia Tech? Man, I know Rodney Rogers' name just popped into my head, though, from Wake Forest back then. Matt Harpering. Ooh, it came to me before I had to put it in. Matt Harpering was just a baller. The Booth kid. Remember the Booth kid at Maryland? Maryland also had Steve Francis. Oh, my gracious. Lonnie Baxter. Guys, I'm telling you, if you were North Floor, 6 inches off the court, during those years, Steve Wojciechowski at Duke, although he wasn't a great player, just a great defender, the Hand kid at Virginia. I mean, I kind of start closing my eyes and looking back at the talent that was in the league in the 1990s was just absurd. What was the Avery kid at Duke? that turned pro early? Boozer. Carlos Boozer at Duke. Loaded. I'm telling you, if you were in Clemson or in any school, I haven't even thought of anybody from North Carolina State. I don't know if that's a statement about North Carolina. The Wolfpack's program. Is that a statement about them, or is it just a statement in general about the league that it was so good that the guys there don't even register for me for the 1990s? All right, so I had to throw it in the Google machine. Tom Gugliotta stands out for me. Was he in the 90s? And I remember Rodney Monroe, Fire and Ice, and Chris Corciani. Like, I do remember those guys, and they were the early 90s. But during my time, Todd Fuller at center. Yeah, see, I'm looking at it. Nobody really stood out from like 95 to 2000 to me at NC State. But everywhere else in the league, Maryland, oh my gracious, Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech. I mean, you were going up against some monsters back in those days. You know what? We did an interview a while back with Ikari Turbe, who was a part of the Clemson Tiger men's basketball team that knocked off North Carolina in the ACC tournament. That was such a fun year. I wish I had that interview. I wish I could find that interview. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll fire that one up because I think I do ask him. I'll see if I can catch it during the break here and pull in the audio. I think I did ask him at one point about playing against some of those names in the Atlantic Coast Conference. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Be a part of the program anytime, any place, anywhere. We'll hit a quick break. We'll come back with more of the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk.
If your New Year's resolution is to spend more quality time with your partner, don't let ED get in the way. The professional erectile dysfunction specialists at Peak Performance for Men know that a new year means a new you, and they're ready to help. 90% of male performance issues are caused by old, broken down blood vessels, which affects blood flow. Peak Performance for Men treats this problem using focused linear compression therapy, an FDA-cleared medical device. Our focused linear compression therapy is a scientifically proven, minimally invasive procedure that uses pulsed energy waves to open and repair aging blood vessels. This increases blood flow, stimulates stem cell growth, and greatly improves male performance. With Peak Performance for Men, there are no medications, no surgery, and no side effects. Over 80% of men who receive the treatment experience long-term improvement. Call now to receive your free consultation and free medical ultrasound at 803-302-8181. Schedule now at 803-302-8181.
Way back when, Colombia was a vast dining desert, a wasteland for fast, fresh, authentic Southwestern food. Weren't nothing bundled up nice and warm in a tortilla. Colombia needed Diablos. Southwestern the way you want it, the real deal, with no shortcuts in quality and served up as fast and fresh as you want it. Diablo Southwest Grill, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. DiabloSouthwestGrill.com.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Win. That's win. Enter it now.
Now the forecast from the Red Shirt Guys Roofing. TheRedShirtGuys.com.
Cloudy and a few scattered showers today. Temperatures stay on the mild side. Tomorrow, things cool down. We can expect a wintry mix before drying out by the end of the weekend. For ABC Columbia Channel 25, I'm Tyler Ryan.
This report is sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot for Friday is $376 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs: face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan. Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Facts with a sprinkle of opinion. The Rundown with Rob, weekdays at 3 on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Well, I tell you, that was easy to find. So I just typed in Ikari Turban Clemson Sports Talk. Boom. It took me right to the interview. We sat down with Ikari back in March of 2018 off the heels of a Clemson victory over North Carolina. Here's some of what Eeks, as I call him, had to say that day. Ikari, good to have you on. It's been a while since I've seen you, but, man, you haven't changed. Now, I've trimmed my hair. I would say you haven't changed hardly at all, man. How you been?
I've been good. All over the place, but I've been good.
Listen, last night, first off, were you at the game? Were you able to make it over?
I was. We've been lucky enough that I think we've missed 1 or 2 home games this year. So it's been a good year for us to be able to go to the games and be able to be a part of just watching the Clemson basketball do so well this year.
Well, I think back to time at Clemson and my time at Clemson. Lowell, you were just a kid. You had no idea about this. I told you wouldn't be the tallest guy in the room tonight, though. Was I right on that, Lowell?
He's got me about a little bit.
Just a little.
I'm over, not a fighter.
Is that what
That's
it
right.
is? Okay, yeah. I think back to your time at Clemson and the excitement around the program, right? Reminded me of that. The fans are spilling out of Kovic, athletic directors taking pizzas out there. Your coach, Rick Barnes, used to do that. We'd be camping out. He'd bring pizzas. We're in Little John. They'd open it up, let us sleep in the track. Remember, the track was around the stadium back then. The excitement. Are you feeling the excitement from the students? Because I'll tell you this, just before the game, they had to put the tweet out to get people to the game. And I thought, we're top 20 basketball team. Does that surprise you?
It does in a way, but I remember my few games at Clemson, it wasn't like that. I think, between Coach Barnes' staff and then what we brought into the game kind of helped. We weren't doing great my freshman year, but we were making noise. People start hearing about, hey, this Clemson basketball team is starting to really fight, play defense, not backing down from anyone, no matter who it was. But to see, so I think last weekend was alumni basketball weekend. So we participated. We went there with the family, and to see a line of students waiting to get tickets for the Notre Dame game, that felt really good. That felt like, when I was playing and where basketball Clemson should be at all the time.
Now, you look like you're still in pretty good shape. Are you still playing ball?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Listen, I'm on a team down in Barnwell. We're called Snowball's Chance because we're not sure if we're going to win a game. So I'm thinking of taking you and Jordan Roper down to my hometown, kind of as my ringers, kind of unassuming. And then we just go ahead and win this entire thing. It's every Sunday that we're going to be busy traveling. What's your travel schedule? Can you make it?
So I can make it. There's one rule.
Okay.
I don't jump anymore. at all.
At all.
I gave that up. So I sit in the corner.
Shoot the three.
Get the ball to me. I'll shoot the three.
Now, that was one of the things I think that people probably, by the way, Ikeri Turbe here in studio with us tonight, former Clemson Tiger men's basketball player. That's probably one thing people forgot about you. Well, Andres was there. He was a tall guy shooting the three, but you were also a pretty big guy stepping out the perimeter.
Yes, and it was on and off. So with Coach Barnes, there was a lot of rules. And I've been around now a year and a half in the upstate, hanging out with Adam Allenspach, Merle Code, Terrell McIntyre, Patrick Gardner. And we go back, even Greg Buckner came by a couple times. Just going back to the old days and the stories that we have, the one dribble limit, the no shooting threes from Coach Barnes. It was a tough coach to play for.
Yeah.
And me, I came in, I was coming in as a shooter, 6'6", European player. And my game totally changed. I had to adapt. I wanted to play. That was my number one thing to go to Clemson. I want to play basketball. I want to sit on the bench. I'll do whatever it takes. And, when you have guys like Greg Buckner, like Terrell McIntyre, that are better scorers than you, you'll do whatever. So my game, I learned how to sacrifice my body, how to play defense, and how to be tough with Coach Barnes. My offensive game, it was, I think I shot 60-some% from the free throw line, 20-something from the three-point line. When those years were over, I went overseas, played in Spain for 12 years. In 12 years, I shot, I think, 91 from the free throw line and 42 from the three. So, it was the mentality of, I'm part of Clemson, I'm part of the team, and I'll do whatever it takes.
So there he was. Ikeri Turbe said, man, I'll do whatever it takes. I am so glad we ran that, actually. And the full interview is over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. I may end up putting a little bit more of that in the show here in hour number one, because I know I talked to him about that Sweet 16 run that Clemson went on. And golly, that team, that was, Clemson went to the Elite Eight in 1980. But that 1996 team, I think it was, that ball club was so much fun. And they got beat by Minnesota in double overtime in the NCAA tournament. But they were so young and energetic, and honestly just put a lot of faith. I think into the Clemson could be a basketball school. And when Rick Barnes left for Texas, that faith was just squashed. And I don't know that it ever returned. And I also wonder if, because my generation, the 1994 or 95, I was a class of 95 guy at Clemson, the group that was there during that run when the team was so good and the passion and the energy was there. Like, I wonder if we're just jaded on our views of what Clemson basketball should be, because so many generations and so many Tiger students have come through, and it's just been a program you didn't need or even want to care about, especially now with football being so dominant. But with all of that being said, that was awesome hearing from Ikeri Turbe. I'll tell you what, if I can find it, because it's 35 minutes, the full interview over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Just throw it in your Google machine. You'll hear it. You can find the whole thing. I'll see if I can find him talking about that run in the Sweet 16 to wrap up hour number one. Tim Beret coming up in hour two as well. So we'll hit a quick break. We'll come over the show that shakes the Southland.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. It sure feels good to step into a warm car after letting it heat up for a few minutes. However, this practice wastes gas, increases emissions, and pollutes the air. Limit idling your car to no more than 3 minutes to save money at the gas station and improve air quality. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or Call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating, 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today, 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you
No easier way to learn another language.
Hablamos español.
He just said now he speaks Spanish.
Babbel, language life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to babbel.com. That's BABEL.com.
Think you can handle another iHeartRadio True Crime Week? With thousands of true crime podcasts to choose from, finding your next case to binge can be a little intimidating. Lucky for you, our investigators are on the scene with an entire lineup of podcasts to get you started. From stone cold killers to cold cases waiting to be cracked. The iHeart Podcast, the MLK tapes.
He never confessed.
Open the free iHeart app and search True Crime to start your next podcast obsession. iHeartRadio. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app. And on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Rocking and rolling along with you on a Thursday afternoon. Lawton Swan, Clemson Sports Talk. So we were listening to that interview with Ikari Turbe from a couple of years ago as I kind of been reminiscing and walking down memory lane. And I mentioned Tim Duncan. Well, we actually got into that conversation with him. The full interview over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. As a matter of fact, I may have to throw it back up because it's so good. And I'll see if we can have like a flashback to our interview with Ikari. Maybe get that out there for people. But here we are. Myself, Lowell, the producer extraordinaire. I was in studio those days. Here it is. The Shakes of Southland, Lawton Swan, Lowell, the producer sitting across from me, Ikari Turbe here in studio and catching up a little bit and thinking back to your time. I don't know if you're going to, I don't think I'm going to say the thing that you may think I'm going to say, but you know, back in the day, you had a back injury. Yes. You had a back injury.
Yep.
I believe you were in a fairly intimate relationship with that ball that you used to have to roll out there and work out your back before the game. Everybody's shooting jumpers. you're working out your back. How's your back doing? I mean, are you good to go now, or is that still something that
I've been good? I mean, it's been up and down kind of thing where I did get 2 herniated discs at Clemson, thanks to probably Coach Barnes and Todd Wright, the strength coach. But it was just part of it, right? It was not giving up. It was not stopping. It was just getting tougher, right? And I learned a lot from that. My back has been good, especially when I lost a little weight.
Yeah.
When I went back to Spain, and that helped a little bit. But so far, I've been good. Yeah, that ball is still. I still have one of those balls.
Well, and I listened to him. Still got one of them. Now, in terms of the run that you guys went on in 97, 98 in the NCAA tournament, and I don't know if this Clemson team can put together a run like that, but I feel like the way guard play is now in college basketball and basketball in general, that they may be good enough, even minus Dante Grantham, if the matchups are right, that they could win a couple of games and maybe get into a Sweet 16. Now, it'd take a lot of work to get there, and the season's not done by any means. But what's that run like when you're in it? Are you recognizing the buzz that's around you and the games and everything as you move through the rounds of the NCAA tournament?
So in a way, you try to put that aside and try to focus on the next game, right? As a player or as coaches, they kind of tell you that to focus on the next game, next practice. Let's get the next thing done. But at the same time, you are around campus. People are coming up to you, and it's a great feeling. But at the same time, you start thinking about, well, what if, right? But at the end of the day, is what happens between those 4 lines. You get on the court for practice, individual or strength training, whatever it is that you're trying to get better for that next game that you can perform at your highest level.
Now, you guys are number 2 in the country at one point that season. Clemson football is not great, not like what it is right now when we were at school. What is that like for you guys around campus? I mean, you're kind of, to a lot of people, you were the team on campus to follow and support and get behind. I mean, you remember walking to class and just having this like almost a surreal feeling like, I can't believe we are who we are in terms of the success we're having.
Yes. But again, the coaches, kind of kept us in the head. Let's not get too big of a head because we're number 2. We deserve to be number 2 in a lot of ways because we have playing good basketball, good defense, and we were doing beating good teams. But at the same time, to me, the rankings are they come and go, and teams go through so much throughout a whole year that it's kind of for a fan to look at. Than you yourself. If you're in the shoes when you're number 2, number 20, you just want to keep grinding and keep working to win the next game. And a lot of times, as a 18, 19, 20-year-old, it's hard to stay like that. But if you have good coaches,
right,
they'll help you stay grounded and work hard and keep working to be number 2, at the end. But
well, I think back, do you ever, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you played against obviously Tim Duncan, Stackhouse and Wallace, Carter and Jameson. And you ever just sit at home and go, holy cow? I mean, Vince Carter's still in the league. Eeks, what are we doing? He's still in the league.
Hey, God bless him. I retired and I can't. I mean, everything hurts now. And I played 12 years in professional basketball in Spain. Played for Spain in the Olympics, but the body takes a toll.
Yeah. Do you ever just sit back though? Or you ever sitting there and think about it and go, God, I can't believe I played with some of these guys that went on to have the careers? Because listen, the 5 I just mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, Antoine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a heck of a ball player in the NBA.
He was great in college, and he was a freshman getting things done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
who's the best guy you've been on the court with, in your opinion?
So I'll tell you who the hardest guy to guard for me. My freshman year, I think Andy Kelly and I were the tallest players that played.
Okay.
So to guard Tim Duncan on the post, when he had a left, a right, a little jumper.
And he's a freshman then, right?
So I was a freshman. Tim was, I want to say, a sophomore, junior, because he was my host too. I visited Clemson. Oh yeah, I visited Wake Forest and Clemson at the same time, and he was my host with Ricky Peral.
Again, that archived interview over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Not only will we put it on the front page again, what we will do for you is we will tweet it out as well. Follow us on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Wait a quick break. We'll come back. Legendary Clemson SID Tim Beret joins the program on a Thursday.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lott and Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic types this afternoon include Broad River at Seminole and Two Notch at Brickyard Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Make this the winter of you with Audible. Listen to the best of what you love, from comedy to wellness to the latest bestsellers. Find it all at Audible with audiobooks, exclusive originals, and popular podcasts. Start listening free when you sign up at audible.com.
I'm starting the new year by making my home feel like new with the advanced clean of Zero Res. Take advantage of their New Year's sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention this station, you'll get a hallway clean for free. Still online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Hi, this is John Farley. For the past 12 years, you've seen me on TV. But before becoming a meteorologist, my first degree was actually in finance. My parents, like a lot of people, didn't know much about the financial world. As a result, they got exploited by some not-so-honest folks. That's why finance has always been a passion of mine, and for the last 6 years, I've been working with the team at Preservation Specialists to help people just like you plan for your retirement. What I love about Preservation Specialists is that we are locally owned and fiercely independent. That means we simply work for you. If that's what you want in a financial advisor, then give us a call now at 803-9-RETIRE. That's 803-9-RETIRE. Don't make the same mistakes my parents did. Work with an advisor who can help get you to and through retirement successfully. 803-9-RETIRE.
Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Kalos Capital, Inc.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Over the last 30 years, 8 million U.S. service members have returned home after serving our country around the world. The biggest challenge a returning vet faces is getting back to everyday life. And a key to that is personal wellness. iHeartRadio has teamed up with some of America's biggest veteran organizations and programs to create Show Your Stripes, a one-stop destination for veterans and their families to find the resources they need. If you're a veteran facing challenges, or if you're looking out for the well-being of a veteran you know, visit showyourstripes.org today.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy
When I grow up,
backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the When country. I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
We need you to help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its life-changing mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call us at 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com to see how you can volunteer or make a donation. WCOS Columbia, Fox Sports Radio 1400, an iHeart radio station available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Just call me Swanny.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's Drive Time right here on the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you. Tim Barre joins the program. Tim, welcome back in. We've been talking about the Atlantic Coast Conference in hoops in the 1990s. We had an interview with Ikari Turbe from a couple of years ago that I ended up digging up just to reflect on it. I got to say, I wasn't around for all the 80s. I don't remember, for whatever reason, all of the 2000s, but man, the 1990s just seemed to be a hot time to be in the Atlantic Coast Conference in hoops.
Well, Lawton, the first thing that jumps out to me would be the 96-97 season. That was a great year for Clemson. Got to the Sweet 16, but the regular season had some unbelievable games. We got to number 2 in the AP poll and had a game against Wake Forest in January. We were number 2. Wake was number 3. They had Tim Duncan. And I still remember we had all kind of students camping out on the lawn of Little John. So, you know how I am with that. So I went over there before the game and counted there were 141 tents out on the lawn of Little John. One of them had our golfers Charles Warren and Jonathan Bird in it. As I still, when I remember interviewing Jonathan at the end of his career, asked him about some of his favorite memories, and that was one of the things he said was when he camped out for that game.
Well, look, I remember being out there so many times, and what was great about it was Rick Barnes would bring pizzas around to us, and I think that just encouraged those lines to expand to 141. Free pizza? Okay, we'll be there.
Yeah, no, Rick was great for engaging with the students, and from the get-go, he was around in a golf cart on the Tiger Tailgate show for football games. He was smart enough to embrace football, and knew that would only endear him to the Clemson fans. And when you look at the attendance figures we had from an average standpoint, they're probably the 4 best years we had in terms of attendance. That in the 70s when Tree Rollins was playing.
Tim Barre joins us each and every week to talk about not only your Clemson Tigers, but also the Atlantic Coast Conference from a historical perspective. And we'll talk about some of those great Tigers. I know it's really, really unique what's being done this year of honoring those guys and really want to focus on that. And I know Jordan Roper's had a big part in that deal. But let's talk about just the Atlantic Coast Conference outside of Clemson for a minute, the 80s, the 90s. I mean, you had Tim Duncan. You mentioned him in that game back in that 96-97 season, or even like Christian Laettner and those guys. Like, in your eyes, who's been the best player that you watched and you've been right there in the arena during your time in Clemson and around the ACC?
Yeah, Christian Laettner would have to be up there. When you look at all that he accomplished and what Duke accomplished, during those times, he would certainly be up there. And Michael Jordan had a better pro career than he did in college, but you could see the pure talent that he had. But with so many guys, Ralph Sampson had to be one of the most impressive guys I could see. I mean, you go to a game like, how in the world are we going to stop a 7'4" guy? In 1982-83, which was his senior year, we had the short 3-point goal. It was only 17 feet 9 inches, and he'd be out there 7'4", shooting threes. and you just wonder how they ever lost it. Now they didn't lose many games, but he was pretty amazing. But it was a different time. It's a shame that we're not in that time now. I mean, Zion Williamson was playing in the 70s and 80s. He probably would have stayed 4 years, and you just think of what the great numbers or accomplishments that he would have put up. But it's just a different era.
One of the other things too that always kind of strikes me more so when I talk about the Atlantic Coast Conference in basketball than football is Maryland not being in the league anymore, and what Maryland, North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest at that time, and maybe even occasionally NC State, in the 1990s, what it meant when Clemson beat those teams at any time. I mean, it's so rare to do it, obviously, on the road, on Tobacco Road. But, when Clemson clipped Maryland, when Terrence Oglesby hits that three late, I don't even think that was one of Coach Williams' teams there at North Carolina, at Maryland. But nonetheless, the point being, I mean, it's just to think about what they meant to this league in that sport and not to have it always kind of leaves a void when I look back.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, Gary Williams was still the coach at Maryland when Oglesby did hit that shot. But of course, I go even back, further than that when I first came to Clemson, and they had Albert King, who was a great player, and Buck Williams and Ernie Graham, and then of course Lefty was the coach. And whenever Lefty came to town, he was certainly a piece of work. There was a game actually in the 70s before I came here that during warm-ups, he went over to the Clemson administrator at the time and thought the basket was too low, that one of the baskets wasn't right. So we had a guy who had to go, get it measured, and he just was. That's the way Lefty was. He was just going to try to mess with you, whether he honestly thought that or not. But and I can't remember who won the game, but when Lefty came to town, or all those coaches, Norm Sloan was pretty crazy on the sidelines. Those were great days of ACC basketball.
The legendary Tim Marberry with us. Tim, before we turn our attention to the legendary Tigers, what about Lenny Bias? I mean, Len Bias, so many people know the tragedy of his story, but what do you remember about his time in the league?
Yeah, just how he was, he was right after Michael. Of course, they had a couple of games they played each other against Michael Jordan. So, but yeah, he was incredibly talented, had great ride, had just such a perfect, jump shot. He never really went crazy against Clemson. It seemed like he had his better games against the top teams in the league at that time. And of course, we had a great game at North Carolina, handing North Carolina their first loss in the Dean Dome, and then he had a great ACC tournament. There's no doubt he would have been a terrific pro, probably along the same lines as Jordan would have had a better pro career than he had in college. But yeah, he could do just about anything: rebound, pass, shoot. He was an amazing player.
Okay, so talking about amazing players, I know that I guess Jordan Roper sort of spearheaded this campaign to get some of these jerseys in the rafters and recognizing the heritage of Clemson basketball. I know Sharon Wright was recently celebrated, and I know they've been celebrating players throughout the year. But, when you look back, I mean, when you arrive at Clemson, that basketball program, 1980, they go to the Elite Eight. But then, you get Horace Grant in the mix. You get Eldon Campbell, Dale Davis, Sharon Wright. It's sort of a school that's just putting big men into the league more so than anything else, even going back to, I guess, Tree Rollins, too. I mean, was that sort of the selling point at that time for Coach Cliff Ellis? Was it, hey, look, you come here, you're a big man, we'll develop you, we can send you to the pros? I mean, was that sort of why Clemson became what they did in terms of the big men that were playing in the NBA for so many years?
Yeah, you're 100% right. In those days we would do, recruiting brochures in addition to the press guide, and that's what we, sold the history of success of the big guys. I think we had 6 first-round draft picks who were either centers or power forwards between 1977 and Sharon in 1994. Sharon was the highest pick at number 6. But it was quite a run. Most of them were from the state of Georgia. Interesting enough when you think about it. Sharon was from Georgia. Dale Davis from New Georgia. Tree Rollins was from Georgia. Now Larry Nance was from South Carolina. Forrest Grant was from Georgia.
Eldon was from California, but had ties to Georgia, right? I mean, he had family, I think, in Georgia.
He did have family, and that was one of the reasons we were able to get him, because of the family that he had. So, it was an interesting run without a doubt. We had pockets of success. Obviously Horace Grant's senior year, we were 25-6, and he was the ACC Player of the Year, and all those other guys were with Eldon and Dale, we won the ACC for the only time in our history.
Now, what has it meant for you recently, Tim, to be able to see some of these guys? Maybe, I mean, I know they have the basketball reunion, some of them show up, but to have these players that you certainly become close to during their tenures there, what's it been like for you to see them back and getting an opportunity to be recognized in front of the fans?
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I applaud Jordan Roper for really spearheading this plan, and it really meant a lot to Sharon. I spoke with him and actually interviewed him for the pregame show ahead of time. He's gone through some difficult health issues, had to have a leg amputated due to an infection he got with his diabetes. But he really, appreciated it, and I know all the other guys have too. We were going to have Trevor Booker for the Duke game on December 29th, and Duke couldn't come. So that game still hasn't been rescheduled yet. So hopefully that we'll be able to recognize Trevor whenever we play that Duke game.
Yeah, what's amazing about Trevor Booker is not only the career he had in the NBA, but really what he's trying to do off of the court. I mean, he tweeted at one point, "Hey, he wants to try to become a billionaire." And you look at some of his business ventures, and he's certainly trying to reach that goal. And good for him, because as much success as he had on the court, he seems to be having much more, perhaps even off the court.
Yeah, he's become quite an entrepreneur with his, along with his associate and former teammate Jonah Bays, who came as a walk-on, but they became very good friends. And I know they've done a lot of business deals, together, and they remained close when Trevor was still playing. But yeah, he had a nice 9-year, career in the NBA, and now he's, got a new career. So.
Tim Bray joins us every Thursday to talk about your Clemson Tigers. And Tim, it's been a bit of a skid here for Clemson's basketball team, and I know that the fan base, I think, I actually asked this question in hour one. Guys like me who were at Clemson during what I would call like the prime of Clemson basketball, with that run you just mentioned to the Sweet 16, all those freshmen, the excitement, Rick Barnes. Like, maybe we're just the spoiled guys and everybody else is accustomed to what's happened, and I just take it poorly. But it is, very frustrating, I think, for a lot of people, because this team had the 2 road wins and you felt like things were going good. And then all of a sudden there's these mid-season struggles that seem to present themselves year in and year out in a lot of people's eyes. What have you seen up close and personal that may be sort of the catalyst to some of the issues Clemson's dealing with right now?
Yeah, well, of course, I wouldn't say it's year in, year out. 4 years ago, we went to the Sweet 16, and last year we went to the NCAA tournament. We were 16-6 in the regular season, and had more non-conference wins over NCAA tournament teams than anybody else in the ACC. But you're right, dude. It's been frustrating in that we got off to a pretty good start. We won out of 5 out of 6 at one point going to Notre Dame, but now we've lost 3 in a row, and the major reason is the 3-point shooting has not been what it was. We were 3rd in the country in 3-point shooting, with 41.9%, and in the last 3 games we've shot a combined under 30%. We were 3 for our first 25 at Notre Dame, and ended up just 8 for 27 the other night. And a couple of those were late in the game. So we are a team that's different from really any Brad's teams in that we really have to make shots and make 3-point goals. In the past, we've relied a lot on defense, but we don't have the size, especially at guard. I think we probably underestimated the impact that Clyde Trapp had on this team last year. 6'4" guard who was a good defensive player who, could stop a guy like Buddy Boeheim. And when we played the two small guards, we're really at a physical disadvantage against most of the teams. I don't know what Brad can do other than maybe put. Chase Hunter's been playing pretty well lately, so we might see some more minutes out of him, and he's a pretty good defensive player. But as you look at the personnel on the team now, if we're not going to make threes, that's really the only personnel move that I can see that he can make. Now that said, we shot over 40% in 9 of our first 14 games this year. So, and we won a lot of those games. So, hopefully we can get the shooting back. And you look at all the teams in the league, with the exception of Duke, they've all kind of had, slumps. Virginia Tech lost their first 4 games, and they were supposed to be one of the top 3 teams in the league. NC State, I think, is 2-6 now, and so there've been a lot of teams that have gone through it, and hopefully we'll get on the other side of it and start on Saturday.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier exactly what you talked about, Clyde Trapp, and I think he's averaging somewhere in 10, 11 points per game right now up in Charlotte. I think 5 or 6 rebounds. I don't remember the exact numbers, but that defensive size that he would give you is something that I didn't bring up in hour 1. I think you make a great point, especially
who's a good defensive player was Johnny Newman. Johnny Newman was a good defensive player too. He's playing for Cincinnati.
No doubt about it. The length on the perimeter is kind of a big deal for Clemson right now. All right, final thing, Tim, and I don't know if you researched this or if you just know it off the top of your head, one way or the other. Hunter Johnson returns to Clemson. Has there ever been another guy that you know of, not necessarily at Clemson, but anywhere where you go, oh, yeah, that guy left and transferred out and then transferred back in to finish his career back where it started?
Being the prodigal son of Clemson football?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, of course, these are all unusual times with the one-time transfer. And
right.
But no, I can't remember somebody transferring back and started with us. But I'm glad he's coming back. He's a really good kid. And he'll be kind of a safety net, for that position, this year. I mean, he had, the 1 year he played for us, he was 21 of 27 for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had pretty good stats, but he could see that he was never going to be the guy as long as Trevor was there. So, but I'm thinking I'm glad he's coming back, and he didn't have that great a cast around him at Northwestern, so going to have some better players around him on offense when he comes back.
I agree 100%. And you know what? I think if there was ever any burden or weight that he felt many years ago when he arrived at Clemson, that'll be alleviated. I think he'll play loose if he gets that opportunity. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate you giving us some insight into Clemson Tiger hoops and sports in general. And I know your car partner there, Larry Pendley, legendary Clemson men's golf coach, traveled down the road with you. Tell Coach Pendley we said hello, and we'll have to get him back on the show real soon as well.
Sure will. Good to talk to you.
Tim Marberry traveling down the highways and byways towards Greenwood with Larry Pendley, former Clemson Tiger men's golf coach and national championship winning men's golf coach as well, who's retired, but they have a speaking engagement down in Greenwood. Is Greenwood the Emerald City? Is it called the Emerald City? I don't know. Maybe it is. Let's see. This is what I like about this show. Like, I just like looking stuff up because I know the high school is called Emerald, right? At one point. And I mean, it's Greenwood. Let's see. Is it known as the Green? The Greenwood people are texting me 803-450-0086. Yeah, it looks like it. You got the Emerald City Hospital. Is that in Greenwood? The Emerald Triangle, Greenwood? The Emerald City. Let's go. 1,000 points for Swanny. Ring it up. Ring it up. I'm right. We'll hit a break. We'll be right back.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Thanks. That's thanks. Enter it now.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon include Broad River at Seminole and Two Notch at Brickyard Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line is 343-1055.
This report is paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Winter means more time indoors together and more chances to get COVID. But a booster can give everyone who's 12 or older and vaccinated stronger COVID protection. We can do this. Find boosters near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the Department of Health and Human Services.
There is a diamond more rare
And more beautiful.
than a perfectly colorless diamond.
And that diamond is a fancy, vivid color.
Bright, lemon, yellow.
It's like getting a glimpse of a bright yellow sun
On a beautiful spring day,
under a perfect sky.
you've got a yellow diamond in your beautiful future.
Come and see what springtime looks like on your finger.
At Sylvan's.
Because wonderful women deserve wonderful jewelry. Right where it's always been, at 1500 Main.
When a physician you trust moves on, it's deflating. When that physician returns, it's worth celebrating. Welcome home, Dr. Paul Espinoza of Espinoza Vein Institute. Yes, Dr. Espinoza is back in Lexington, caring for patients, former and new. As a trusted, respected, certified vein specialist, he offers personalized, compassionate treatment in a private practice that feels like home. Espinoza Vein Institute. Healthy legs, a step away.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
You can help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com. Do it today. Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
Really good to catch up with Tim Beret. Love chatting it up with him. And he's right. I mean, in fairness to Brad Brownell, yes, last season was a good year. And again, when I talk about the inconsistencies, I think it's the fact that you just find, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just jaded on it, but you just feel like season after season there's a loss or two that you shouldn't have. And maybe everybody has that. And it just feels different when your team has less postseason success than others. Does that make sense? Like if Clemson was getting into the NCAA tournament more frequently, then maybe those losses wouldn't seem magnified when they happen, even in years where you get into the NCAA tournament. And especially in years where you don't, then it really begins to, I think maybe the phrase that's been used for so many years would be it begins to stick out like a sore thumb. And because of that, in years where you have a down season or where it's a frustrating year for fans, when you have a stretch like you've got right now, it feels more significant than maybe it should. And so maybe I'm judging Clemson basketball more harshly than I should. But I think there comes a point where everybody, whether you're a radio show host or a fan, you want better, right? So let me see. So I'm looking back at Clemson's basketball matchups from a year ago just to see, like, okay, I know they finished with 6 losses in conference, but that 66-60 loss to open the season at Virginia Tech in league play, I still remember that game bothering me. I don't remember how that game slipped away without going back and watching it, but I still remember that game being a frustrating loss for me. Then you get beat by Virginia at home. No worries with that. It's the fact that you get beat by 35 at home. Then getting demolished by Georgia Tech on the road, 83-65, frustrating. A 19-point loss to Florida State, frustrating. I mean, maybe that's what it was looking back at last year. The stretch there where Clemson lost 3 straight games and were just obliterated doing it. Now, a 13-point win over North Carolina, that makes you feel good. A 17-point win over Syracuse. You squeak by Georgia Tech. You have a couple of games postponed. Yeah, I mean, maybe in fairness, I'm a bit harsh given the results that Clemson had a year ago. But losing in the ACC tournament, opening round? Yeah, in the opening round of the ACC tournament to Miami, 67-64. Then losing in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, 60-56 to Rutgers. Yeah, I mean, not a terrible year by any means, especially if you take those 2 off the board, because you got, at that point? Well, I guess technically that Rutgers lost a non-con loss, but still, I mean, it's like, you just always feel so close, and I think that's what gets me. It feels so close, but yet so far. I think that's the thing about it. And if it was just that you got into the NCAA tournament, 7 out of 10 years, maybe 8 out of 10 had a couple of Sweet 16s, whatever, then, the years where you have a little bump in the road might not feel so bad, but it becomes disheartening. It becomes disheartening. And I guess that's the best way to put it. 803-450-0086. We talked an awful lot about Clemson basketball today and basketball in general around this league. But how about the Hunter Johnson situation with Tim Bray saying, he doesn't know of one that's happened like that. Where a player has left a program and then gone somewhere, played, and then returned. We've had guys in college football, what I would call unportal, right? Say, I'm in the portal. I'm leaving. Never mind. I'm staying. Like, I'm not going to do it. And like I said, I think at some point we've got to evaluate the detriment of the portal to college sports. And I think we will see some new rules put in place surrounding the portal because of that. However, with all of that on the table, the fact that legendary Clemson SID wasn't able to say, well, Roy Smith from Notre Dame back in 1922 left Notre Dame, went to Michigan, went to the war, and then returned to play his final season at Notre Dame. The fact that Tim Bray didn't drop that on you, that makes me feel better about the fact that Hunter Johnson might be the first, I guess not technically portal out, portal in. He was more of a transfer out, grad transfer, portal back in, if you will. I do think it'll be fun to watch. As I said, I think there's a confidence level that he can have and a looseness he can play with that he didn't have to worry about back then. Because, I mean, even when he comes in, I mean, people want him to challenge Kelly Bryant for the starting spot. I mean, people wanted him to be the guy until Big Trev, the Giant Killer, rolled on campus. You can't convince me otherwise. People would not have loved to have had Hunter Johnson playing so well that you couldn't deny him from getting on the gridiron in 2017, because when Clemson gets beat by Georgia 24-6, the thing they were missing, maybe more than anything else, was an elite passer. Now, has Hunter Johnson been an elite passer at this point in his career? He has not. He has not. But if you go back to that year and imagine that he does become the player that you would have thought maybe a five-star kid could be, then maybe he pushes Kelly Bryant, and maybe even more so, maybe he finds his way into the starting role before the end of the season, and maybe he's a good enough player in that hypothetical sense to have knocked off Alabama in that Sugar Bowl matchup in the college football playoff. But he wasn't, and he didn't deliver, and so he didn't get that opportunity. That's one of those things where, quantum leap. I'd love to have a quantum leap situation where he becomes a great elite player, and what happens for that Clemson Tiger team that year if that was the case. We'll hit a break. We'll bounce back right after this.
Breathe easier in your home in 2022 with Zero Res Air Duct Cleaning. It's the only company I trust to get my home insanely clean. Right now, when you mention this station, you can get $30 off your next air duct cleaning, plus 15% off filters and purifiers. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meeting Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meeting Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Thanks. That's thanks. Enter it now.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
It was the most thrilling game of the wild card weekend when the 49ers went into Dallas and escaped with a win over the Cowboys. At the end of the game, a bit of controversy as quarterback Dak Prescott failed to spike the ball in time to get one final shot at the end zone, but the 49ers never trailed in this one. They're now 8-2 in their last 10 games. Next up, the top-seeded Packers on Saturday. I'm Chris Collinsworth.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Think you can handle another iHeartRadio True Crime Week? With thousands of true crime podcasts to choose from, finding your next case to binge can be a little intimidating. Lucky for you, our investigators are on the scene with an entire lineup of podcasts to get you started. From stone cold killers to cold cases waiting to be cracked, including the new iHeart podcast, The MLK Tapes.
He never confessed.
Open the free iHeart app and search True Crime to start your next podcast obsession. iHeartRadio. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Cutting-edge Braille instruction, both in-house and virtual computer training, educational workshops, job coaching. These are just some of the critical services offered by the Federation Center of the Blind, which is affiliated with the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina. This year, we're observing our 60th anniversary. We invite you to join us by calling 803-254-3777 or emailing nfbsc@sc.rr.com.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com.
Stay focused. Now that's a major key alert.
Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Broadcasting from the TrueCar.com studios. This is Columbia's Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
Clemson Sports Talk on a Thursday again tomorrow. I think we'll be on the air. And the reason I say think is because, of course, road conditions could be bad. And I have no idea if management will say, hey, guys, don't come in. And you'll say, well, Swanny, you don't go in. And then I'll say to you, well, what if the power's out and I can't go in? And then, so, yeah, I plan to be here. Like, that's the plan. It's never not been the plan. But that's the plan. All right? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll certainly be back on Monday, one would assume, if we're not here tomorrow. So just come for the show. And if I'm not here, stay for the other shows that are on instead. 803-450-0086. But I plan to be here. 803-450-0086. Just checking some of the news coming off the wire today. You guys know I'm a Los Angeles Laker fan. I've been a Los Angeles Laker fan my entire life. I've been a Los Angeles Laker fan since the days of Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when that group, Byron Scott, AC Green, Michael Cooper, Michael Thompson, James Worthy. I've been a Laker for life. And look, when they got LeBron James, I thought, man, this is awesome. I mean, I really did, because I think he's been the best player in the game for many years. And they brought him a title, and I'm excited. When they got Anthony Davis, I thought, man, nobody will be able to stop these guys. They'll just be dominant. And then they started adding all these other pieces around them. Dwight Howard, the biggest, the biggest. I don't know. How would you describe the big lazy person? The biggest lazy guy in the NBA or the laziest big guy? He's both. They had DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, they've had so many players come through there. But then when they added Russell Westbrook this past offseason, I thought, well, how are you going to slow these guys down? Because they've got two essentially walking triple doubles in LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. I wondered how they would work together. Head coach Frank Vogel, who's been under the spotlight, actually benched Russell Westbrook late in the Lakers' loss to the Pacers on Wednesday night. And people thought, man, that maybe that's the end. And because they figured, well, if Frank Vogel's willing to bench, maybe he doesn't care what happens to him anyway. Like himself, not Westbrook. Well, the top story over on ESPN.com today was about the Lakers. It said the Lakers are broken. Here's how to fix them. Talking about LeBron James tweeting that the Lakers would be better. And I certainly believe that the Lakers in the playoffs will be better. Like I believe that they are good enough, when healthy, to turn it up and be one of the elite teams in the league. But I also think that there's a dangerous approach to playing that way. And I think that when you don't pour it all out all season long, and I know that you've got players who have taken time off, it's kind of become the norm, but that's not really the case here for the Lakers. It's just that they have not played well together. They are 22-23. They sit in third place in the Pacific right now behind Phoenix, who is 34-9, and then the Golden State Warriors. And yeah, they haven't had that true pure shooter, and I think that's one of the reasons they wanted a guy like Damian Lillard. I think that's one of the reasons that they certainly would love to have an opportunity to pursue, somebody like, I don't think that Steph Curry's going anywhere, but maybe Klay Thompson. I mean, it's one of the, not this year per se. I'm just saying in general, right? Right now, the Lakers are in 8th place in terms of the Western Conference standings. Right there in the mix, though, could quickly, with a couple of, with a nice little streak, could jump up into the top 6 in the league. The playoff cutoff is at 10 because of how the NBA's got it all set up now. But this is a team at 22-23 that should probably be 32-12. This is a team that should be one of the top in the league, just given the talent that they have. And yeah, I know that Anthony Davis is out, and that's a big blow to him. But still, a team that has LeBron, a team that and by the way, Russell Westbrook has LeBron and Westbrook. Westbrook makes $44 million a year, more than LeBron. A team that has those two guys, and I know it's an aging Carmelo Anthony, but, I mean, wouldn't you think that team would be better than what they are, especially given the fact that, they've been playing together for several months now? I mean, I assume maybe it's going to click. But I got to tell you, as disappointing as Clemson basketball is for some of you, that Laker program, with the talent that they've got, putting up the numbers or lack thereof that they have, drives me insane. It just drives me insane. Because if you got two guys on the team who have the capability of averaging a triple-double, that's a positive, because what can happen a lot of times if you have a guy like James Harden, who's more of a shooter and going to take shots from people, somebody that's going to command the basketball, that can strip somebody like, Carmelo Anthony or Kyrie Irving or anybody. Heck, for that matter, Kevin Durant could strip him of opportunities to shoot the ball. That's not really what you have with the group that the Lakers have assembled. But they still don't play like a team. They are like a bunch of pretty good parts and really good parts at times. And if they would just, it's it comes down to ego and being, the sum of the parts, how great they could be if they would just get it together. And I'm telling you, it drives me crazy. I just want to see them be a better team. I just want to see them look like the talent that they've got assembled. And my Lakers, sadly, have not. But you know what? At least I'm an honest fan. At least I'm telling you the truth. My Lakers have got to get better. Final segment next.
Lawton Swan here. And I know in sports, we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Whitechapel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
My husband and I started a business together, and I had no idea where to start when it came to payroll. And a friend of mine recommended Patriot, and I have not looked back since. It was extremely user-friendly. I was actually able to understand it and run everything extremely well. And anytime I've had a question, they have been so quick to answer and help me. I definitely recommend it to anyone who is looking for a payroll software that is easy to use, user-friendly, and really offers everything that you need when it comes to something that's beneficial for your business.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
patriotsoftware.com. Accounting and payroll. Keep your time and money.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
Let me tell you about the fine folks over at General Dentistry of Lexington. Dr. Bennett Hammett and Dr. Rick Jackson can take care of all your dental needs. With TVs and headphones in every room, digital x-rays done in a flash, you can relax while their wonderful staff takes care of all your dental needs. 803-957-2297. Tell them you heard about them right here on the show that shakes the Southland and get $50 off your first visit. That's General Dentistry of Lexington, located at 109 Timber Mill Drive, right off of Highway 1.
Job coaching, computer and technology training, Braille instruction, educational workshops, mentoring, social networking, and recreational camps. These are just some of the far-reaching services offered by the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina. We promote the economic and social welfare of the blind while helping them live the lives they want. To find out more about us, call 803-254-3777 or visit www.nfbofsc.org.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no charge. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Win $1,000.
No way.
Oh, baby. Yes way. It's a grand in your hand. Listen every hour from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. weekdays for your chance to win.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Thursday afternoon. And again, programming note, I expect to be on the air tomorrow, but if the weather's bad and if the power's out, who knows? Because if the weather's bad, I can't drive in. If the power's out, I can't put the show together. So just keep that in mind. Out to the text line, we go here on the program. John in Archdale, North Carolina says, there you go, Swanny. Give me your North Floor bias. John, I can't help that North Floor is just slightly better than South Floor. I mean, that's the facts of the matter. It's it should not be seen as a slap in the face. I'm not calling you like a nosebleed guy. I mean, you were on the floor. You were just on the wrong end of the floor. 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Be a part of the program anytime, any place, anywhere. I know we've talked a lot about Clemson Tiger basketball here on the program, but I will say the Clemson Tiger football team, their social media does such a great job at putting out videos to keep you kind of updated. And, man, I tell you, watching some of these guys work in their voluntary workouts to get ready, it's a passionate group. I think it's a hungry group. I think the fact that this past year didn't go as well as expected is exactly what the doctor ordered in terms of preparation for the upcoming season. I think that you can, whether you want to admit it or not, I think that you can get a little bit complacent when it comes down to the just the little things, the details. And when you 2 years ago get beat in the national championship game, then the following year get knocked out in the semifinals, and then the next year you don't make the playoffs at all, it can feel like you're cascading the wrong direction. But go follow, if you don't, 1 million people do, go follow the Clemson football Twitter account. Just the third college football account, by the way, to hit that 1 million follower mark. But if you go follow those guys and you watch some of the work that these young men are putting in to get ready, I mean, it becomes pretty clear just how dedicated they are. And I think part of that dedication, again, comes from the lack of success that they've had over the past couple of seasons, because they still know what it tasted like to be at the top. They still know what the view was like at the top of the mountain. And they just want that back. And I'll be honest, I don't blame them. 803-450-0086. Don't forget, text line, phone line, anytime. Anytime you want to be a part of the show, you can be. Again, we would love to have you. Just come hang out and give us your thoughts. Heck, man, we had a guy in here yesterday, Krusty something. I don't even know his name anymore. He was trolling. But you know what? He listened for an hour and a half, actually. What's funny about people who troll, I think some of you who allow the trolls to get under your skin have empowered them to believe that we're all just going to fall in for their little gimmicks. The only thing you can do as a troll to get yourself kicked from this operation is if you are using, as people have said in the past, filth. If you're using foul language, yeah, you got to go. Other than that, obviously, I mean, there's some other language that could get you in trouble. But, I mean, if you're just beating up on me, you're in there calling me a dummy or a knucklehead or saying I don't know what I'm talking about, I am fine. One little funny note, I saw John Blau tweet this earlier. So, the Reese Senior Bowl is taking place. This will be probably the last thing we get to you as we get you out of here today. The Reese Senior Bowl getting set to take place. Mario Goodrich will be on the American squad, playing the opposite side of the field from his former teammate, Darion Kendrick, who's also going to be there for that ball game. So how neat is that those two guys are going to be back together? And again, whether you dislike Darion Kendrick for the way his career ended at Clemson and the fact that he ended up at Georgia doesn't really matter. It's still two former Tigers, two former teammates getting to play across the field from each other one final time after one guy had to exit after being kicked off of the team. That is one thing. Please get your facts right on that. Drives me, it does kind of bother me when you're watching TV and people say, hey, Kendrick transferred from Clemson. Yeah, that's not exactly what we call it. That's not what we call it when you get kicked off of the team. That's not transferring. Now, if you want to say he got kicked off of Clemson's team and arrived at Georgia or transferred into Georgia, sure. But you at least got to tell the full story. My man didn't transfer from Clemson. He was kicked off of the team. All right, we got to get out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Thank you to Tim Bray. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Ikari Turbe. We'll have that full thing up over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com later tonight. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now and go Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon include Broad River at Seminole and Two Notch at Brickyard Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line is 343-1055.
This report is paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Winter means more time indoors together and more chances to get COVID. But a booster can give everyone who's 12 or older and vaccinated stronger COVID